Hello! Welcome back to my channel. I am very excited about this video today because I am going to be talking about the books that I read this past fall. It's 10 books in total, which is the most books I have read in a 3-month span. So most of these are audiobooks. If you don't like audiobooks, then you may or may not like this video. I listen to audiobooks because I'm addicted to multitasking, but mostly because I am a slow reader and reading is painful for me. Like, literally, I get headaches from reading, and it's not because the lighting is bad or whatever. It's literally because I'm concentrating so hard on reading and I keep repeating lines. I don't know if any of you are like this. My confidence in retaining information from reading is very, very small. Because I haven't done anything like this before, I just recently have developed my rating system. You will find that in the description box below, but my rating system is purely based on 10 of these books. Like, all 10 of these books have developed my rating system, and I expect my rating system to change the more books I read. You will also see that there is a narration rating system. Because I listen to a lot of audiobooks, this might be helpful for all of y'all who also like listening to audiobooks and might find it difficult to find a good narrator. There is no rating below 3 stars. My system for figuring out whether I want to listen to the book or read the physical copy basically is just me listening to the first couple minutes of an audiobook, and if I don't like the narrator, then I'll read the physical book. So at the baseline, my narration rating system is going to be a 3 stars, which just means it's okay. So all that said, let's talk about some books. So the first book is Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. I listened to this on Audible, and it was narrated by Jim Dale, which I think a lot of people really love the narration of this book because it's Jim Dale and because his voice is just so relaxing. I have to agree. I rated this book a 4.2 stars. This book, I think a lot of people dislike, mostly because it just goes on and on and on and is a little too long. And not a lot happens, like, in a good majority of the book. So I agree, like, that's where the 0.8 stars gets deducted. And I would have also taken more off if I had not also, in conjunction with listening to this book, also listened to the podcast Potterless, hosted by Mike Schubert. Now, Mike Schubert was a 20-something-year-old as he was going through the Harry Potter books. I'm pretty much the same, where I am also in my 20s and have not read the Harry Potter books before. This is my first time going through this series. So a lot of his thoughts and opinions are spot on to how I think and view the book. But there also are some thoughts he has that I did not think about before. There are 3 characters that I find very, very annoying in this book. The first and main being Harry Potter. Like, he's the brattiest character I have ever listened to. But Mike Schubert and the guests on his podcast Powerless brought up some great points. The main being that he's a 15-year-old boy. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. So I guess it's just, you know, it's kind of realistic. The second character that I really just disliked a lot was Professor Umbridge. But her character is written to be disliked. She's so infuriating. Another character I had struggles with is Sirius Black. I know so many people love Sirius Black, but in this book I felt like Sirius Black was pretty immature in some scenes, especially the ones where he was like, Harry, your father would have done this, like, why aren't you? I'm like, what? What? Like, that's, oh. Yeah, there were some scenes where Sirius Black was super immature and I did not enjoy that. But then you remember that he was imprisoned for a good portion of his life and that it wasn't just imprisonment, it was literally happiness and joy sucking like imprisonment. It was terrible, and you know, you can forgive him for that, I guess. The next book that I read early autumn is this one, Snow White with the Red Hair by Sorata Akitsuki, that I rated 4.5 stars. This is the first ever manga that I have read, and it is about this girl with candy apple red hair who wants to be like this herbologist or something. Honestly, I forget. But it's so cute and adventurous, and there's kidnapping involved, and there's this cast of characters that are just super fun. I loved this book. It's only 4 chapters long and left me wanting more, so I am definitely going to be picking up the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and so on until probably the end. Yes, highly recommend if you want to get into a manga. This is a great first manga to get into. Yeah, pretty good. Now my 3rd book is The Last of August by Brittany Cavallera. I rated it a 2 stars. However, the narration was fantastic. Like, it was really good. I think the narrators were perfect for the characters that they were portraying. Yeah, 4 out of 5 stars. They were great. But the book, oh my goodness, I was disappointed. I was really sad. This is a sequel to A Study in Charlotte, and I think it is a 4-book series. It's all based off of, if you can't tell by the titles, Sherlock Holmes mysteries, because we are dealing with Sherlock Holmes and Jamie Watson, descendants of Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson, which is a very, very fun concept, and I kind of dig it. Like, I really love it. However, they kind of don't deliver. Study in Charlotte was okay. Like, I didn't dislike it. I think it was okay. But this book had something going for it, and then it just felt like a teen drama in the end. I think the majority of this book felt like a teen drama with a love triangle. I am not a huge fan of love triangles. I think underneath all the teen drama and the love triangle, there was a decent mystery that I wish the author had developed more and focused on more. I think it only got good in the last quarter of the book and got, like, I don't know, like, the stakes were high in the last quarter, but it felt like a drama, and I was not a fan of the book. So the last book that I read in September, which I'm gonna be honest is a book that I read at the beginning of September, and it took me the whole month to read because, again, I'm a slow reader. But I read this book, In the Company of Witches by Orly Wallace. This book, I think I got the idea from Darling Desi. I think she also read this book, and when she described it, I was like, that sounds amazing. It is about this gal who lives with her aunts, and they run a bed and breakfast. Something happens, and they need to figure out the mystery. They are also witches, so things get interesting and fun. And I really enjoyed this book, especially for the beginning of autumn, because the descriptions in this book were absolutely phenomenal, top notch, really does put you in the mood. This is very cozy, very aesthetic, autumn aesthetic. The mystery is decent, but I think I enjoyed this book more for the atmosphere and the setting, because I think this is also set in New England. So, I mean, I highly recommend this book. I gave it a 4.5 stars, I believe. Also, this book made me tear up, and it got a full star for that, because if a book can make me tear up, that means that it got me emotionally attached, and that's a good book right there. Now for the books I read in October. The first book is The Mystery of Black Hollow Lane by Juliet Noble. Now I rated this book at 3.2 stars because I thought it was just decent. It was okay. The narration, however, got a 4 stars because the narrator fit well with the voices that were being spoken in the book. Their Scottish accent was on point. Like, it was so good. I was like, this is a great Scottish accent, and it just brought joy into my life, and I was just like, yes, 4 stars. Now, this is a middle grade mystery. It deals with a girl who gets sent to boarding school in England and is basically just navigating friendships and a new setting, a new school, her schoolwork, and she loves soccer, and so that's also incorporated into it. But there's also this underlying mystery, this mystery of a secret society and the Black Hollow Lane, which I found super interesting and intriguing, and I thought it was a good mystery. Like, the mystery was good. However, I think there are 2 kinds of middle grades. There are middle grades written for kids, about kids, and just feels like a middle grade. The second kind of middle grade I think that exists is a book that is pretty much written for everybody but is safe for kids. Like, a kid can read it, understand it, but it doesn't have that underlying childish tone to it, if that makes sense. So this book was pretty decent. Like, it had a good mystery, but it felt a little too childish and young. Now we are going to be talking about the book I rated a 5 out of 5 stars, and that is The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. This book I love. I actually listened to the audio version of this book, and I had to buy the physical copy because I was just like, this is too good not to be on my bookshelf, you know? Also, like, the illustrations in this are just so whimsical and mysterious. Like, look at this. This is so fun. This book was amazing, and the narration was also equally amazing. The thing I liked about this the most is that I think it felt very well balanced and very well paced. There wasn't a lot that like made it feel like it just dragged on. I think it just had just enough for you to be like, I want to read more. I like that it had a mix of different genres in the same book. Like, it felt spooky, but it also had this small mystery in it, but it was also a coming of age story. We basically follow this boy called Nobody Owens, who ends up being raised by ghosts and a vampire in a graveyard. And you basically just follow his life as he grows up into adulthood, and it's just a really sweet and mysterious, but also spooky kind of book. It was just really good. I don't know what it is. It's just good. Also, the vibes were just excellent. Like, it was just, it was a perfect read for October. I think also I liked that this book wasn't advertised as a mystery. I, for one, am a sucker for a mystery, and if you couldn't tell by the books that I've already talked about, like, I like mysteries, and I'm pretty strict when I rate mysteries, but I like that I was pleasantly surprised by the mystery that was in this book. But it wasn't like the focus of the book, which I liked. I liked that it wasn't like trying to be something that it wasn't, you know? It just was. And it was great. Now on to another 2-star rating, which makes me sad because I wanted to like the book. I listened to the originals The Rise by Julia Plec. This book is the first in a trilogy, I think, based off of the TV series The Originals, which in turn is also based off of The Vampire Diaries. It is basically about these 3 siblings, Elijah, Klaus, and Rebecca, and follows them on an adventure. This book basically takes place hundreds of years before you see them in the originals, and it's like when they originally arrived in New Orleans. So it's a part of their life that we haven't seen yet. The characters very much acted the same as they would in their TV show, like they were the same, which I really enjoyed. However, I was not expecting a lot of drama, and I don't know why I wasn't expecting that, because I think they are just the most dramatic people anyway. Especially Klaus. He's so dramatic. Also, I was kind of surprised about the amount of spice that was in this book. I think I expected some romance, but not like the stuff that I got in this book. But the characters acted like themselves, and the plot was okay. So, 2 stars. Now, on to the last 2 books. I read my first ever thriller book, which I was so excited about. I read The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley and gave it a 3 stars. But the narration was phenomenal. It was pretty much a full cast. These narrators nailed every single voice, every single accent. It was impeccable. Like, I loved the narrators. I think they were just perfect for this book. However, let me read to you my review on Goodreads for this book. There are 3 things that I didn't like about this book. 1, the weird obsession with describing people's sweat. Odd and a little gross, and described too often. Like, there was just like a lot of sweat in this book. And it was really weird. And sometimes it made sense. I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And then other times I'm like, now this is becoming a pattern. I don't know if we need this many descriptions of sweat. I very much enjoyed the different perspectives in this book, that each chapter was based around a different person and their perspective. I liked that. However, for a thriller book, when you have very intense scenes, extending them for like 3 people that are involved in that scene kind of takes away the effect that that scene has, and kind of makes it a very scene, which is sad because you're just like, no, what happens next? But wait, I have to listen to 3 people give their account of the same scene. While it was interesting, it was not a great choice for a thriller. Also, smut. Not a fan personally. Yeah. But in the end, I think that the things that were working for this book, was the underlying mystery and the excellent plot twists. Like, I think those were just done so well, and I very much enjoyed those parts of the book, as well as the characters and the cast of characters. If you don't know about this book basically follows this girl, Jess, who goes to visit her brother, Ben, in Paris. But when she gets there, she doesn't find Ben anywhere, even though he said he was gonna be there. You basically are just uncovering what happened to Ben and learning more about his very sus neighbors who have secrets. But yes, decent book, I think. At the beginning of November, Enola Holmes 2 came out. And I watched that movie twice already, and I really liked it. I don't know if it's better than Enola Holmes 1, but that's a discussion for another day. But this basically set off my, like, fangirl Sherlock Holmes phase again. I love Sherlock Holmes, but I don't think I can say that without actually reading a Sherlock Holmes book. So I finally did that this month and read The Hound of the Baskervilles by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. I was so intimidated by this book for the longest time because I was afraid that the language, how things were said, I wasn't going to understand it, and I was going to understand the mystery and everything, and so I would have just been more frustrated with this book than anything. But I was surprised that, like, I understood pretty much all of it. So it was really good. I think I gave this book on Goodreads a 5 stars, but really it's like a 4.8 stars. 4.8 just because I don't fully I love it. Like, it's not a I love it kind of book. It's a I really liked it. So 4.8 stars. And the narrator was great. The narrator was a 4-star narrator. They were great. I think the mystery in this book was really good, and I really love Sherlock Holmes's character. I grew up with the Benedict Cumberbatch Sherlock Holmes. Like, if you haven't seen that show, you should see it. Very good. I think Benedict Cumberbatch's version is a lot colder than the actual written version by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Doyle's version is very logical, very T, Myers-Briggs T, and very to the point, no fluff, but not cold. So I liked this different version and this different view of Sherlock Holmes than I was used to. Also, his love for Watson and just like caring about him and his safety just like made me feel things. I was just like, oh, that's so sweet. But yes, I really enjoyed this book. Also, I liked the fact that as I was listening to it, it was like a 6-hour listen, I think. It was very short, and I liked that. I liked that it was to the point, wasn't stretched out to a 12-hour book, you know, and it was like a, let's get to the point, get to the plot, things are happening, you know. I really enjoy a fast-paced book, and I think that this book really nailed that, and you want thrillers and mysteries to be fast-paced, I think. Yeah, and it's a classic, and I'm really happy that I got to read a classic this month. Those were the 10 books that I read in September, October, and November. I'm really proud of myself that I got through 10 books. I think that if I wasn't listening to all of them, I wouldn't have gotten through 10 books, but I'm glad that I had a lot of time to be able to do that. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel. Leave a comment below of your favorite book that you read this fall, and I'll make sure to check it out. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great and fantastic day wherever you are. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!